Welcome to WP-Tonic, episode 39. Today we have a very special guest, and that guest was so special that he actually did two 30-minute episodes. In fact, we normally only program for one, but our guest was very, very interesting. And if you want to learn about Facebook, make sure you're listening to this episode, 39 and 40. So now for our special guest, let's get into episode 39 and listen to John Loomer. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
Jonathan, what are we going to talk to John about today?
Oh, well, John Loomer is a bit of a legend in the social media world here. He's three-time winner of the top 10 bloggers on social media by Social Media Examiner. So, and he's Mr. Facebook. He talks about all things Facebook, the badness, the good, the bad, the ugly, the short, the medium, the long term. John's made it clear that he's the long player, not the short player. So really great to have you on the show, John.
Oh, thank you so much. And do you go by Jonathan or John? Because I'm also a Jonathan, by the way.
I think we go by Jonathan today, because otherwise it's a bit.
I've got some other names for him. You want to hear them?
Yeah.
We won't go down here. We want to, that wasn't nice, Bill.
I know. He's English. He's got an excuse.
I've got some names for you, Bill, as well. So, John, it's pretty obvious that something's kind of get you going. There's a certain newsfeed company that has recently got you going. So would you like to share your thoughts about that?
Well, first of all, in general, I don't consider myself a marketer naturally. I guess it just ended up being that way. I don't really like the industry of marketing or what's expected of marketers. And I think overall it's just sleazy and underhanded and deceptive, and I can't stand it. So that's one of my issues.
You haven't got strong feelings about it.
I really do. And this, not to go way back, but this goes back like my first job ever out of college. I had the worst job you could ever imagine, pretty close to it at least. As a telemarketer. No one wants to be a telemarketer. But I was the worst telemarketer of all time because I hate to sell, especially to sell crap that nobody wants. So anyway, but there's this. But one of the things that drives me crazy though about marketers is that we constantly, I say we, I like to say they, constantly chase an algorithm as opposed to focusing on creating really good content that people want to read. And I don't understand why it's so complicated, why we complicate things in that way. Like, Facebook now makes it easier to reach people with a text update. So I got to make everything a text update, as opposed to just thinking, what does my audience actually want to see and engage with? And so, not to pick on this company you mentioned, NewsWhip, they just wrote a blog post or an article and they have what appears to be a pretty cool tool that kind of evaluates a lot of the top publishers and what's getting shared most and all that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden they saw this huge dip in shares. And they said, well, immediately the issue must be Facebook has killed organic reach like we always heard they were going to do. And that's just killing all these companies and we're screwed. And then, if a little while later, Facebook reached out to them and said, oh, by the way, there was a bug in our reporting that was impacting organic reach and viral reach specifically. And so this is what drives me nuts is that like the reach itself, we've seen this every year, at least once a year, where there's a bug in the reporting. So that metric is something you can't verify. You have to take Facebook's word for it. So they can change the way they report it, which they have done. They can have a bug in the reporting. Or they could just decide out of the blue, your reach is 100 times higher and everybody's dancing in the street naked like it's something great, when it doesn't mean anything by itself. So that's what bothered me about that article, was that they were reliant entirely, first of all, on shares, but shares also relies some faith in Facebook, because Facebook will tell you how many shares you had, and then you can click a link to see who shared it. But you can only verify those people who you can see based on privacy settings. So like the example I found, like it was about 26% of those reported shares I could actually verify. Facebook could, again, tell me I have way more shares or less, and I just have to take their word for it. So point being, in all this, these are all publishers that were sharing articles, and the news have tried to come to the conclusion that Facebook doesn't want us to share links, even though this is completely opposite of what we're seeing with links lately, and that they're killing reach and all this stuff, without digging into whether traffic was down, because that's ultimately what's important with these shares. It's like whether or not users are sharing or the reported shares are down, is traffic down then from these posts? What are the website clicks? And that's what drove me crazy, is that we're constantly focusing on these secondary, tertiary, or completely irrelevant metrics, as opposed to focusing on what really, really matters. And in this case, it would have been a website click. So that's all.
Yeah, I'll get your picture. I just want to ask you, obviously a question that's linked to that. You're a small, medium business. Could have a physical entity, or it could be an online entity, or it could be a mixture of both. And you've had some bad experiences of Facebook, but you decided that you're coming back. And this is a broad question, but if there's many businesses like that, and then looking at Facebook, are there any kind of key tips or advice, let's say a top 3, about what you should do over a 6-month period that could start helping you with your business? Could I ask that?
Yeah, well, understand that Facebook's a spoke in the wheel. So even though my focus outwardly is Facebook, that's not my home base. I don't run my business entirely through Facebook, just one portion of it. And I've got to have a website. Now, I know a lot here, like small business, mom and pop and all that stuff, like, oh, we're just this little, brick and mortar business. We don't need a website, or don't need to focus that much on a website. Understand, things are changing. You're not going to be able to get away with not having a website, or a good website, because more and more, not only are people online, but they're on their phones, and that is how they're deciding whether or not they're going to your business. So you need to stand out there. So before you even worry about Facebook, make sure you have a website that actually does something, is mobile friendly. But honestly, I believe the one of the most important things about your website is actually offering something that's useful and helpful that pertains to your target audience. The more traffic you get to your website, and I know this sounds backwards when I'm talking about Facebook, but trust me, the more traffic you get to Facebook, the more highly relevant people you can target on Facebook. The more traffic you get to your website, I think I just said Facebook. More traffic you get to your website, the more relevant people you can target on Facebook, to either like your page, read your latest post, see what your big sale is today, or driving back to buy something. So if you want to get back into Facebook, I think that first, though, your priority should be getting your online image in order, being your website, email list, etc.
Yeah, Jonathan, let me tell you, I really believe in what you just said. I think it's like, I'm into the podcasting world, but a lot of podcasters don't realize. In fact, they get into podcasting for a year or two, and they said, "Wow, I didn't build an email list because I didn't have a good platform." And that's the hardest thing to do, of course, I think, maybe it's not the hardest thing to do, but you got to get your platform in order before you can that's your foundation.
Absolutely. And I even think about my own business, and I look back and it seems like a small period of time now, but at the time it seemed ridiculous. I didn't start an email list for the first 6 months. But even then, it really wasn't. I mean, I've been on and off having a good lead generating tool to build my email list, and I'm much more focused on that now. But you understand, if you don't have, number one, a really good website that has good content in it that's going to attract people. If you don't have an email list, you are really handicapping yourself in terms of trying to do anything effective on Facebook. So you're on Facebook, who are you going to target? Who are you going to target? Oh, based on this interest and that interest. Like, well, Facebook, yes, the interests on Facebook are good and they're effective if you have nothing else. But ideally, you should be targeting somebody who visits your website, someone who's on your email list. There's nobody more relevant than those two groups of people. And if you're putting no effort into building either your website traffic or your email list, you're handicapping yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But there's also like the startup community where you've got, I've got a startup that's actually in the social media area. And we're going to be utilising Facebook and Twitter advertisement to try and publicise. And a lot of our target base doesn't know about us. So would you say that's a legitimate, there's a lot of new businesses that don't, they're looking to generate income, cash flow is king. If you're a business, cash flow is king, isn't it, John? So do you think you can utilise Facebook, when you're a new business and you're trying to publicise and get people into?
Yeah. So this is a challenge I hear about often is that, you have a new business. You don't, even though, yes, you're investing in this website and everything else, you don't have any traffic yet. You don't have an email list yet. So what you do is in the early going, you are investing in that though. So in the early going, you have to spend the majority of your budget targeting people who don't know who you are. But that doesn't mean just selling your stuff. It means driving them to your website to read something that's related to what you're doing and that appeals to your target audience. So your majority of your budget will go to people who don't know who you are first. But as you drive more and more traffic, which includes ads, it's promoting just helpful content, not just stuff that's promoting your products. Over time, that website custom audience, those email lists will be growing. So you'll start shifting your budget more and more to these people who actually know who you are. And the effectiveness, therefore, will go up as well.
Yeah. So you think it is, but, you've got to get the other things correct as well. Like, content, the look of the site, what your offering is. But Facebook can be a good mechanism, Facebook advertisement, to drive people that wouldn't be aware of your new company, your new product.
Right.
Yeah. I want to go on to the blessed Gary Vaynerchuk. He, bless his heart. I always feel pumped. One thing about the guy is I always feel I'm half dead when I watch him. He's kind of at the intensity level that either he's on something or he came out the womb that way. But he made a couple remarks. That one, he was talking about, that everybody's it's probably finished now, but they're talking about dark posting with Facebook. And I like if you could give a quick outline of what that concept is. And right? I can tell you.
I mean, it's just, I think it's, again, something we overcomplicate and make it into like some special sauce, little magic voodoo that happens.
It's got a good name though, isn't it? Dark, it's like dark matter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dark posting, isn't it?
So all a dark post is a post that never appears organically on your page. It's only an ad. It's dark, meaning it's unpublished. And so it only exists as an ad. Now, but why would you do that? One of the main reasons would be you want to split test. So which copy performs best, which image performs best. Instead of publishing 5 posts that basically are the same thing on your page, you maybe create one and then create 4 variations that are dark, unpublished posts that you run as ads and to compare what performs best. So there's really nothing magical about the dark post itself. It's just that you don't clutter the news feeds of your fans with similar posts. And it's just ads though that you're split testing.
Yeah, thanks for that. I thought you'd be the guy to make a simple answer. What's your? I get myself, and I've been grossly negligent, but also I hear from a few clients. What's your feelings about a small medium business and the balance between using their personal profile rather than their business page? Because people say that they might be very well known socially in their area and they know a lot of people as themselves and as their business. And then they got this business page and they find it hard to get actual people to come to their business page and become a fan and, putting stuff on their profile and plus putting stuff on their business page. They struggle. What's your advice and feelings about what are the boundaries between the two and what you would advise people around all that?
Yeah, so it's something I struggled with 3 years ago. I even wrote a post 3 years ago when I decided to create my Facebook page, and I didn't create a Facebook page immediately because I didn't see myself as a business. I didn't see myself as a celebrity by any means. So I was like, why do I need a Facebook page? I can just use a profile and get following and all that kind of stuff. And it was more, seeing people who I saw as eventual peers, hopefully, at that time, in Mari Smith, Amy Porterfield, that they split it up. They were personal brands who had a profile, but also had business pages under the same name. The one tweak I made to it is like, I think it's confusing to have a profile and a page with the exact same name, like which is which. So that's why I added the digital. That's the only reason why I added digital to the name of my company, to separate the two. Now, how do you use those two? First of all, there is clear advantage to having a business page because of all the metrics you get, all the information you get that you don't have available to you on a profile. It's also all the advertising that you can do that you can't do within a profile. So in my mind, look, if you're not a serious business, stick with the profile. But I think most people are going to say, oh, I'm a serious business. Okay, well then also have a page. You can have both. There are advantages to having the profile too. I understand that. Like I allow people to follow me on Facebook. I think you're going to be bored out of your mind following me on Facebook, my public stuff. But I use my personal profile to be it's like the more personal stuff. It's not necessarily related to business. It's like because a lot of people know, like listen to my podcast and things. They know I'm a baseball coach, and so I'll share a lot of that stuff there. And then my business page is more about business. And so that's where I draw the line. And it's not that I never share anything personal on my page. It's pretty rare. But that's how I draw the line. How others draw the lines, up to them. But in my mind, you have to have the business page too if you want to have access to the metrics and you want to be able to advertise and do all those powerful things.
Jonathan, let me follow up with questions here.
Yeah, sure, Bill.
Our business is we deal with real estate agents. We have a small agency in California and Nevada. And we're looking at, and there's now you got different levels. You got the sort of the big mega, you just talked about it, people online across the nation, building revenue. But then you go down to your community and city where your businesses are. And that business guy, most of them don't have that. Some do, but they don't understand that personal page, business page. But I'm pretty sure it's clear that Facebook has first a rule that you're not supposed to really create your personal page as a business page. So My first question is, have you seen anyone thrown off?
Oh, yeah.
My second question is, what advice would you give to that real estate agent who works for an agency? A small little, has a small farm, a following. They look at about 200 or 300 houses. What do they do? How do they apply Facebook to their business?
Yeah, so absolutely. There are profiles that typically what Facebook does is sends you a warning and says that you have to change your profile into a business page. Now, again, that doesn't mean that anyone who does anything with that's business related on the profile, that's what it's going to happen. It's just you can't use your profile solely as a business, especially if you try to say make your profile name under a business, business name under a profile, which is exactly what Facebook's trying to prevent. Like if I could probably, and again, I don't know the lines sometimes on this. I could probably, just have my profile be John Loomer and talk about my stuff and whatnot on my profile and send links to my page, my site and stuff like that. And I don't think Facebook would care. It's the minute that I try to change it to John Loomer Digital or something like that, that's clearly a business that I'm trying to do under a profile that Facebook has a problem with. Now, in terms of like a real estate agent, first of all, you should be using ads. But you're the main thing what is the main reason that someone would want to follow a real estate agent? It would be they're considering selling, they're considering buying. I think in particular what you should do in that case is be featuring houses. What are the houses that are available in your market right now? And you can run ads in that case as well, targeting people in the area. You could even target people based on the value of their current home. You could target people based on a lot of actually financial things in terms of whether they own or rent, how old they are, that kind of things, where it might be a potential buyer in that price range that you're looking at. And especially if you have a specific house that you're selling and you want to target people in the area who already own, or maybe let's say it's a starter home, right? I think that's a prime example. You got a starter home in the area. Let's target people who are of a certain age, 25 to 35, who are currently renting in this area. And then you could actually use copy along those lines, like, hey, looking to buy your first house. Here's a great option for you in the area. There are lots of things you could do in the real estate.
Yeah, I think as a follow-through question, and it was a great question, Bill, is there a lot of people in the real estate industry and, that you would have thought that are really into sales, they don't actually utilize Facebook that well, do they, John?
Yeah.
No, they don't. It's quite shocking, really. And it's interesting, isn't it? Do you think it's because of a mindset more than anything?
Oh, man. I don't know what all the reasons are. I think the bottom line is that, like anything else, it takes work. How many websites are done well?
Not many. Mine aren't.
Yeah. I think the problem is Facebook. People look at Facebook for some reason as something that they should be able to follow all these. Yeah, I compare it to, like all the black hat stuff with SEO and whatnot. But they look at Facebook as like, if I just do X, Y, and Z, I'll have success. And if not, if it doesn't work, then Facebook's broken. And the truth is, it takes a lot of work. And you can't just hop in and run ads for a month and make a whole bunch of money. That's like playing the short game, basically. But so I think that's the biggest misconception is that I think because Facebook is used on a personal level and how easy it is to communicate with friends and everything else, people just assume that same ease of use applies to a brand and making money on Facebook. But it takes a ton of work.
Yeah, I was listening to a conversation with Brian Clark, and he was talking to the guy that's the CEO of Sumon, was marketing director, was one of the first 30 employees of Facebook. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about, he was...
No, you're talking about Noah?
Yeah, Noah, yes, that's it. I'm fearful to have him as a guest because I think we would have so many bleeps.
Yes.
We would have so many bleeps in the conversation that there would be no conversation, John. But he does know his stuff, I think. But he's saying that he's found retargeting, using Facebook and retargeting as a really great mechanism, and it's got some great results. What's your feelings around that?
It was a game changer when the ability to target your website visitors first started. It started out as just like something that was available in Facebook's API that you could use third parties to do it. There was the old FBX thing. And then when it came to actual, the Facebook ads interface with website custom audiences, and so basically create any ad you normally would on Facebook, but target people who visit your website or target people who visit specific pages of your website. I mean, the way I look at it, there is no more relevant person to target than the person who has already seen my stuff on my website. They know who I am. They've expressed interest in my content, my subject matter, my product, whatever it is. That is somebody I need to continually go after. So they don't need to subscribe to my stuff for me to know that they know who I am, if they've read my stuff and they have an interest in Facebook ads. Whereas with targeting by interest, there's a lot of guessing that goes on, a lot of fuzziness in terms of what makes somebody, how does Facebook determine somebody is interested in something. If you have been to my website, I know you have an interest in Facebook ads, period. So I can run an ad to promote another blog post that's related to Facebook ads. I can run something about an ebook about Facebook ads. And I know that you're a prime candidate to have interest in it. And I could sell a product. Then I know that you're a prime candidate to buy it. So that made it so much easier to target, but it also made it that much more important for you to drive traffic to your site so that you had a decent audience to target in the first place.
Yeah, I see it as enormously. It's one, amongst the more professional marketers or people that that are prepared to invest the time. It must be a powerful tool. It must be. Get back to old Gary Vaynerchuk. He was talking. He was responding to a question. One thing I also feel he's, obviously he runs a top social media agency in New York, so he's not short of resources. But his utilization of video on Facebook, I think, has been quite creative and interesting. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Now, there are a lot of people I look up to in terms of their use of video, and it's huge on Facebook. Now, one reason, as we're sitting here in my new office, one reason we built this new office with this white wall back there, yes, is so that I finally start have an environment where I can create video easily, so there are no excuses, because it's a difficult thing. Gary is someone who's not shy.
That's an understatement, isn't it?
And he's just someone turn on the video camera, let's go. And I'm somebody who I'm not real comfortable with public speaking. And doing the video, I feel like it's got to look right. I'm my own worst critic and all that kind of stuff. So I have to have the right environment to do it. So it's hugely important, and it's definitely one of my priorities as well to start doing that this year.
Yeah,
do more.
In one of his videos, he was responding to a question, and the question was, is Facebook and Twitter, they included Facebook and Twitter in this, become too competitive, and it's really only an area now for the bigger guys? And they said, should people that are kind of bootstrapping their business or look at other social media platforms like Meerkat or Snapchat or Instagram, look at that and the kind of return, you haven't, and Gary's response was that, you haven't got a big budget. All you really got is a lot of time. So you can work on it until 3 o'clock in the morning, and you probably should look at these other platforms. Mm-hmm. And his argument, in a way, was that it's becoming a bit too expensive, Facebook and Twitter. And I don't totally agree with that. And I just wanted to see what your thoughts were about that kind of statement.
I mean, first of all, get in where you fit in. So it doesn't mean it has to be Facebook. It could be Instagram. It could be Meerkat or something else, whatever. You should definitely still create something on Facebook. I mean, I even think about my own business. Granted, lots of things have changed since I started my business, but I mean, I created my my profile, my Facebook page, my Twitter account, my YouTube, and all that stuff. And I didn't really know what I was going to do.
Well, to find out what John Loomer is going to do, make sure you tune in next week, same time, same location. Actually, I want to tell you something secret. We're supposed to get these up on Saturday night. It's Sunday night. Went to a wedding in San Francisco for about 3 days, so slipped a day. But you know what? That's what it is. It's podcasting. But we'll do your best, and next week you will have John up on Saturday Night Late. In fact, we could call this the Saturday Night Late Show for podcasting. Well, anyway, take care. Thank you for listening in. Have a great week. Hey, I'm going to put a commercial on it since this is the end of the show. You thought we're all done. Well, the commercial is, first of all, for WP-Tonic. Of course, listen in. And for Jonathan Denwood. If you need that $10,000 website, which he can produce for you, one of those high-end websites, he just picked up a university, so that's good. He's a sharp guy, knows his stuff. Strongly recommend him. He also has a great SaaS product starting to develop. If you're in the real estate industry, it's available right now. And just go over to mail-right.com. Great lead generation. And finally, a little plug for myself. I have, if you go to Timelines of Success, or better yet, go to newmediagold.com. That's newmediagold.com. You want to start learning about WordPress, get it going. We have a quick program that can get you up, train you, help you start really fast. We can also show you how to throw in a little bit of podcasting and some other media. So take care. Again, that was a commercial. End of the show. We got to pay this expensive podcast broadcast system.
1 and a 2 and a 3, 4, 5.
This is the way that we make podcasts. We make podcasts. We make podcasts. This is the way that we make podcasts. All. This is the way that we make podcasts. We make.